Henry V, in a way, epitomized Oliviers as patriot. He was commissioned to make the film, after all, to coincide with the invasion of Europe. He was the actor patriot. I think he saw Henry V as being the epitome of English patriotic courage at our finest hour.
In May 1943, Olivier began filming in neutral Ireland to avoid anti-aircraft noise. A local golf course had to make do for the great battlefield of Agincourt. Extras were recruited in part from Allied soldiers who had deserted from the front line in Europe. To save film stock, many scenes were limited to one take only. Behind the camera, Olivier was hit by a galloping horse, his mouth cut to the gum.
He was under great pressure because it was a most enormous undertaking. It was the only colour camera in the country, and so it was a big commitment.
Uncle of Exeter, set free the man committed yesterday that railed against our person.
Oh, my darling. Are you all right? No news since you left Ireland, and desperately worried about your back, arm, shoulder, knee, lip, and what else? I worship you. Dying to see you. Vivien.
And I'd like to...
Vivien Leigh was in North Africa entertaining the troops. She was frustrated at being denied a starring role in her husband's epic.
Always.
Everything was made for Vivien because she was offered the part. They wanted her to do the part, but her agents said that it wasn't a big enough part after doing Gone with the Wind. And so I got it. And as it was my first film, I hadn't any idea, really. Princess Catherine, who was the daughter of the King of France, quite a sort of political catch, if Henry could make a match, you know.
Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonnez-moi. I cannot tell what is like me.
She's sort of semi-reluctant and semi-coy and semi-nervous. And so he tries all sorts of different approaches.
Oh, laissez, Monseigneur, laissez, laissez.
Finally, he sort of captures her, as it were.
Then I will kiss your lips, Kate.
Oh!
I suppose when I saw the Henry V, just after I got home from the war, since it was a war movie, one was appropriate. But I can't imagine anyone doing that part better.
We few, we happy few,
we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so base.
And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day.
Upon St. Crispin's Day, standing in the stirrups, wonderful.
You know your places, God be with
Olivier's Henry V, released just before D-Day, won him an Oscar. He had attained an unrivaled position, and his name was now fixed at the very heart of Britain's wartime identity. Olivier could now enjoy the fruits of his success. His love of pageantry and the English past led him to buy a house that would befit his station and be worthy of Vivien, his Lady Guinevere. Together, the couple moved into the 12th century Abbey of Notley in Buckinghamshire, much frequented by King Henry VIII and endowed by Henry V himself.
It was a very romantic place, and it was dead right for the Oliviers because it was steeped in history, you know, and it was battlements and knights in armour, and it had all that.
Barry took me round the estate. It was his moment of being the landed gentry, you know, and what they were going to do and everything, you know. He was playing that role. I think he was, you know, he was always playing.
I came back at the end of the war from America, where I'd been evacuated, aged 8, with no memory of him at all. I was determined to have a father, and I had a photograph of him as Henry V in armour. I was very proud of him, and saw the film before I'd met him, which is quite a funny way around. I became very puffed up, went around introducing myself as Laurence Olivier's son. Terrible, but I did.
What do you suppose has happened? I'm to have a baby. Everyone is very, very cross and keeps saying, how am I to be a 16-year-old Cleopatra? And I keep saying that it's an act of God and they're not to be mean. They'll just have to hurry up with the filming.
Liar!
What? Protestation.
Vivien resisted on doing it and lost the baby.
It's false, false, I swear.
So it was just one of those awful things that happened, you know. I hardly liked thinking about it because it was so tragic.
I didn't have a problem at all. I was absolutely struck dumb with jealousy. I simply couldn't handle it at all. And I'm ashamed to say that I showed it. And when they actually did conceive, I was beside myself with jealousy. And I'm equally ashamed to say that when they lost the baby, I was happy. It's not a very nice thing to have to admit to, but it's true.
Arriving at Fremantle, Sir Laurence Olivier and his wife Vivien Leigh were assured of a very warm welcome.
The pain of loss could be diverted. In 1948, the newly knighted Sir Laurence embarked with Lady Olivier and their theatre company, the Old Vic, on a 9-month tour of Australia.
We were on the boat a month, and we rehearsed on the boat. And Larry was obviously very much in love with her because he was watching her rehearse and got a huge erection in his trousers, which was very embarrassing for the other ladies.
And he stopped, he sort of, retreated, as it were.
Well, she slapped him.
Did she?
Yes,
No, I don't
she
remember
slapped
that.
him on the knee.
We all felt it was like a present for helping win the war. They had this world celebrity because before television, the movies sort of swept around the globe like an epidemic, like a virus. And these initial stars, the Clark Gables, the Gary Coopers, the Laurence Oliviers, the Vivien Leigh, they had enormous space. They occupied enormous space in the collective minds of the population.
They were glamorous, they were beautiful, they were famous, they were rich, they got everything people aspired to, and the public loved it. The public wanted idols. They were the public's idols when they were together, and they played up to it, and the public loved it.
Behind the public image, the Oliviers were working themselves and their company to exhaustion. They took the lead in Shakespeare's classics, as well as plays by Sheridan and Thornton Wilder. Olivier badly wrenched his knee, and his Richard III took on the manic look of an actor stoked up on morphine.
At that time they were very tired, very exhausted. It was like playing two parts. They were ambassadors, with the mayors and everything, and playing leading parts in 3 different plays. So you can imagine 8 months of that. They were exhausted. We did sense something was wrong towards the end. Something was cooling between them. But they kept it from the cast, we didn't know what was going on exactly.
In 1947, Olivier embarked on filming Hamlet. He had prepared for the role by reading the works of Sigmund Freud. Increasingly, Olivier was turning to his fictional characters to explore his emotional life, and was withdrawing from Vivien. His decision to film Hamlet in stark black and white seemed to mirror his own hidden melancholy.
All of a sudden I was working with one of the greatest actors in the world. You can imagine a 17-year-old being very nervous.